What if I told you there was a Counter-Strike pro who physically couldn't stop holding the W key, from literally pressing his nose against a screen to single-handedly prying open bomb sites? Yekindar led the entire Tier 1 scene in opening duel attempts, the most aggressive player Counter-Strike has ever seen. But when CS2 dropped and gave rise to players like Donk, Yekindar's career almost ended. Things got so bad his own team made a documentary on his downfall. So how did he bounce back from the brink, and why does he still refuse to change his playstyle? To find out, we have to go all the way back to Lithuania on September 17th, 2017. Yekindar's first HLTV appearance came with a Latvian side called Wolsung. Small Baltic lands, zero Tier 1 relevance. His numbers were good, but nobody outside the region was paying attention. But at this random Tier 3 land called Game On 3 Finals in Lithuania, a veteran IGL named Hooch was in attendance, and he witnessed a stupid Latvian teenager literally do a roll on stage and pump up the crowd with so much energy before a single round had even been played.
Hooch said, we need this idiot, and he literally told me, play like an idiot, run in, we're gonna trade you, jump if we need you to jump. And I was like 16 years old, like, yes, of course. And that's how it all started. That
one unhinged celebration got Yekindar into the Tier 2 CIS circuit. He bounced around some Russian mixes before landing on Zeus's team, Pro 100, and that's where the real development happened. 2 years grinding alongside veterans like World Edit and Waylander, former Tier 1 pros gave him experience, the knowledge, and most importantly the space to help him shine and get noticed. And the breakthrough moment in his young career came on March 29th, 2020. ESL won Road to Rio CIS, Pro 100 drew Virtus.pro, and Yekindar put on an absolute clinic. He dropped a 1.26 rating and went 14-6 on opening duels across the series, completely dismantling the VP players who were about to become his teammates. And in May of 2020, Virtus.pro signed Yekindar. VP in May 2020 were in a freefall. 4 of their last 5 LAN appearances had ended in last place. The team that had been a vanguard, once ranked as high as 3rd in the world, had stalled after joining the organization. They needed a firepower upgrade. What they were about to get was the most perfectly mismatched partnership in Pro CS history. If you have followed Pro CS at any point, you know the James system. He pioneered an obnoxiously slow and methodical style, built around constant saving and grinding out games. It was methodical, calculated, and genuinely ruthless in its patience. And if James was yin, patient, passive, calculated, then Yekindar was yang, pure aggression, pure forward momentum. The W key warrior who was dropped into the most passive system in Pro CS. On paper, it seemed like the slow tempo would neuter the young star's potential. The clashing styles looked like it wouldn't be able to coexist.
It's on Jam. Come on, Jam. You gotta bring it to the site. Your team are already here taking fights. Come on, you gotta get the bomb over here with 20 seconds left. Yekindar's gonna have to try and get a kill, but what's happening right now? Yekindar's gonna do everything, and Jam's just not going for it.
Instead, the opposite happened. Yekindar became the load-bearing pillar of the passive system. His entry attempt share at VP sat around 36%, as he ran first into contact every single round, oftentimes alone with minimal support. And the aggressive Latvian star was excellent at his job, opening up rounds and setting up Jame and company to close them. Yin and Yang, 2 polar opposites that somehow fit perfectly together. And the results came fast. During this time, they won IM New York CIS, showing the potential the lineup possesses, beating Navi 2-0 during this run where Yekindar shined, posting the best rating on the server with a 1.41. With this New York victory under their belts, the new look VP really hit their stride, coming into the next big event, Flashpoint 2, on a high. They won every single series at the tournament on their way to the trophy, taking down 3 teams ranked higher than them along the way. Yekindar didn't have his best event overall, serving up a 1.06 rating, but he led the event in total opening kills per round, and was in the top 10 for impact rating. By the end of 2020, VP had lifted 3 significant trophies and were just outside the top 10. This team that had been finishing last at LANs was suddenly one of the most dangerous rosters in the CIS region. The momentum was only building, and Yekindar soaked up all the knowledge Jame and Dastan had to give, which helped him understand the game at a deeper level. The system had clicked, and in 2021, it produced something extraordinary. Yekindar and Jame had become one of the most unique partnerships in Pro CS, and nowhere was that dynamic duo on fuller display than at IM Katowice, one of the most stacked events of the year. 16 of the top 20 teams in attendance, NIP, Vitality, Furia, all dispatched without dropping a map to make the playoffs. And as the rounds went on, the Jame-Yekindar dynamic duo took over. Jame pulling strings from the back, Yekindar detonating at the front. They faced world number 2 Astralis in the quarters. VP won 2-1. Yekindar led the server with a dominant 1.37 rating and 99 ADR. They dispatched Team Liquid in the semis, Jame and Yekindar posting a 1.59 and 1.50 respectively. Two players in perfect sync, dismantling everyone in their path. Unfortunately, the final was a step too far, as they lost 3-1 to Gambit. But the tournament was still a roaring success, and for Yekindar specifically, the numbers were staggering. Across 17 maps, a 1.28 rating, 92 ADR, and a 1.57 impact rating, all while taking the most entries at the event. He just narrowly missed out on the MVP because they lost the finals, but make no mistake, this was a super carry performance in the superstar category of individual prowess. EVP undeniable, and Katowice was just one chapter of the year. Yekindar continued his overwhelming style with EVPs as CS Summit, Pro League Season 13, and IM Fall CIS. He was joint first in opening kills per round across the entire pro scene and had a 53% success rate in opening duels, an opening kill rating of 1.3, the highest in the world, an impact rating of 1.36, third globally, and 86% unassisted kill rate, the highest of any top fragger alive. All this accumulated in being the number 8 ranked player of 2021. The highest placement a Latvian player had ever achieved at the time. From a small Baltic country with no tier 1 pipeline, became the best entry fragger in the world. The trophies, the momentum, the Jame-Yekindar partnership firing at its peak. The upcoming 2022 season seemed like the beginning of something special. But it wasn't. On February 24th, 2022, Russia launched a full-scale invasion on Ukraine, and just like that, Yekindar's career stopped being about Counter-Strike. Virtus.pro were caught in the crosshairs as ESL and Blast moved quickly to distance themselves from Kremlin-linked organizations. And VP, one of the most prominent Russian organizations in esports, were forced to compete under a neutral name going forward. Outsiders, a team in limbo. Yekindar saw the writing on the wall almost immediately. Just a week after the invasion began, he voiced his uncertainty publicly saying, "At the moment, I really don't know if it will be possible to continue playing with them." He wasn't wrong. The uncertainty bled into their performances. At ESL Pro League Season 15, Outsiders picked up just 2 wins. Yekindar held up his end, a 1.07 rating, a 1.14 impact, green across 4 of the 6 main categories. But the team around him was visibly unsettled. The turbulence of world affairs was having a real impact on their performance on the server. The PGO Antwerp Major in May ended up being Yekindar's final appearance with the Outsiders, confirming reports that circulated in the weeks leading up to the event that suggested his days on the roster was numbered. A 3-1 run through the challenger stage, Yekindar again leading the team with a 1.18 rating. Then the legend stage arrived and everything fell apart. One win, a forgettable victory over an underperforming Vitality, and an exit in 12th to 14th place. Even in defeat, Yekindar was the only real difference maker on the roster, finishing with the team's highest rating at 1.05. And this was the moment Yekindar had to make a decision. Staying with the Outsiders meant accepting a future defined by uncertainty, visa complications, tournament bans, and organization being frozen out of the circuit. The infrastructure that built him was collapsing around him, and he moved to the inactive roster shortly after Antwerp. 2 years, multiple trophies, a top 10 world ranking, and a partnership with Jame that had produced one of the most aggressive entry fragger runs the game has ever seen. An unfortunate end to this partnership, but the Latvian star understandably chose to pursue greener pastures. Yekindar didn't spend long on the sidelines. June 2022, legendary North American organization Team Liquid brought Yekindar on a loan for a few months, and his impact was immediate. In just his 3rd event with the squad, Liquid went all the way to the grand final of ESL Pro League Season 16. It was a brutal 5-map affair against Team Vitality, where Liquid would lose 3-2, but Yekindar posted a 1.14 rating across the series, took 59 opening duels, more than anyone on either side, and his 1.36 impact rating was second only to ZywOo. Same series where ZywOo posted a record-setting 143 frags in a series, by the way. But the performance told you everything about the kind of player Yekindar was. He's a big stage player, delivering massive impact in grand finals when his team needs him the most. The potential of this Liquid roster was undeniable, so in October, Yekindar bought himself out of his Virtus.pro contract and officially signed with Liquid. Yekindar was now officially the centerpiece of the Liquid project, and he wanted to build something and bring the European structure and methodology he had absorbed under James to a roster that had been missing exactly that. Yekindar didn't just bring top-level production and impactful entries, he was secondary calling, vocal in the mid-round, and overall elevating the team's tactical ceiling in a way North American CS rarely saw from an entry fragger. EVPs at both Blast Fall Final and Blast World Final followed, another runner-up finish at the latter, but further proof this was now a team competing at the top end of the international scene. By the end of 2022, Yekindar has attempted the most entries in Tier 1 and posted a 1.3 impact rating, one of the most impactful players in the world, and he returned to the HLTV Top 20 Players list, this time at 15th place, back-to-back appearances following up his 8th place finish the year prior. A new team, a new identity on his own terms, and still producing at an elite level. But success has a way of creating dangerous ideas, and the same instinct and confidence that made Yekindar elite on the server was about to lead him somewhere he had no business being. Mid-2023, longtime Liquid in-game leader Nitro stepped down from the active roster, leaving a vacancy in the captaincy. And Yekindar, as the secondary caller and visionary that brought EU tactics to North America, called his own number. So Team Liquid made Yekindar the IGL, and went all in on the vision. Liquid fully embraced the European transition, outwent the American core, in came Rainwaker and Patsy, a complete overhaul and a risky identity change to abandon their North American roots entirely. And it was a complete disaster. This roster was terrible. In just 4 months together, they basically came last at every single event they played, 4 events, nowhere even close to a playoff berth. And Yekindar's personal numbers told the story, a 0.94 rating and a sub-1 impact rating. The IGL burden was eating him alive, and the Latvian found out firsthand that being a secondary caller and being an IGL are completely different jobs. One lets you play your game and contribute when the moment is right, and the other demands that you carry the mental load and preparation of the entire team before the round even begins. And on top of that, there's more to being a captain than just calling tactics. So just after 42 maps, Liquid scrapped it. The Yekindar IGL experiment was over, but the damage was already done. And what made it worse was the release of CS2, a version of the game where aggressive entry riflers were beginning to ascend to the top.
In CS2, bro, you just swing. You just need to swing.
Pure mechanical aggression was being rewarded at the highest level like never before. Donk burst onto the scene and immediately became the most talked about player in the world, a hyper-aggressive rifler who ran at everything and won. A new generation of entry fraggers who just held W and made it work were rising to the very top of the game. Sound familiar? That was supposed to be Yekindar's redeeming moment. The scene had literally transformed into the game he had been playing his entire career. Every analyst, every fan, and every person watching the transition happen looked at this new aggressive meta and thought if anyone was gonna thrive in CS2, it was Yekindar. The hope was that the new game would act as a hard reset, that it would breathe life back into the most aggressive entry fragger and remind everyone exactly what he was capable of. The 2024 rebuild looked more promising on paper. In came Cadian as a true IGL, an experienced championship caliber captain who could carry the calling burden and take it off Yekindar's shoulders entirely. Twists and scolds followed as Liquid once again returned to an America's core. The idea was to free Yekindar up completely, let him go back to the aggressive space taker he was born to be, with a proper system built around him, but it didn't work. The chemistry between Cadian, Twist, and Yekindar never clicked, and despite being liberated from IGLing and being put back in his natural role in a game that favored aggressive riflers, the Latvian opener was still a shadow of the player who once terrorized Tier 1. In 2024, he averaged an abysmal 0.99 rating, but it was his T side that told the real story. Yekindar still attempted the most opening duels in the scene at 34%. But now he had one of the lowest success rates in the entire Tier 1 scene at just 37%. He was playing the same way he always had, being a space taker, but the output was simply not there. Every entry attempt was a death. He either lived by the sword or died by the sword, and he was doing a lot of dying. It was painful to watch, tournament after tournament, just disappointing results and Yekindar bot fragging. His individual form had become so bad that Team Liquid produced an 18-minute documentary talking about how he fell off on his freaking birthday nonetheless. The team was struggling, he was struggling, and the two fed into each other in the worst way possible. It has now been over 1400 days since Yekindar had lifted a tier 1 trophy, and now the aggression that had defined his career was making him a liability. After the Perfect World Shanghai Major, Liquid made their decision. After nearly 3 years with the organization, Yekindar was benched. He was now 25 years old, his stock at the absolute lowest it had ever been, and it honestly looked like his career in Tier 1 was finished.
You might have to look twice when you see this. I do have in front of me Yekindar in a Furia shirt right now.
Yeah, salve galera Brazil. Imagine I just started talking Portuguese, but yeah, I'm honestly like I'm quite shocked. It's the same way as you are.
And then, out of absolutely nowhere, Furia called. The Brazilian organization was making a blockbuster pivot, importing European talent and taking a huge risk on a young Kazakh opper named Molodoi, who was coming into his first Tier 1 team speaking Russian as his primary language. And Furia needed someone who could bridge that communication gap and a veteran presence to help settle the young sniper. So, in April 22nd, 2025, Yekindar signed with Furia, not as a permanent player but as a stand-in, a 3-event trial run through the Blast TV Austin Major. To Yekindar, it meant he had 3 chances to prove he still deserved to be at the Tier 1 level. Even inside the organization, the signing raised questions. The 25-year-old coming off 3 difficult years, joining a historically Brazilian team mid-run trying to earn a permanent contract. And first came PGL Astana, and Furia and Yekindar looked surprisingly sharp, taking maps off Spirit and playing top teams close en route to a 4th place finish. For a brand new roster still finding its feet, it was an encouraging debut. Yekindar posted a 1.13 rating, 2nd on the team, the kind of number that felt almost foreign after everything that had happened at Liquid. But more than the stats, something just felt different, with Yekindar himself saying Astana was the big tell. If people click, you can instantly notice it. We had the right players. The chemistry was building event by event, and then came the Blast TV Austin Major. Furia were on a roll. They tore through the group stage, going 3-0 with Yekindar posting a team-high 1.31 rating. For the first time in years, he looked like the entry fragger that struck fear into opposing defenses. Unfortunately, they were upset in the quarterfinals to domestic rival Pain. Yekindar wasn't able to get going in the series, going 1-11 on T-side openers and ending with a 0.99 rating. A disappointing result given how close they had come to a truly deep run. But stepping back, looking at the big picture, this brand new roster, still weeks into playing together, had just made the playoffs of a major, something Furia as an organization hadn't done since Rio in 2022. And Yekindar was a revelation. He had led the team in ratings through the group stage, and more importantly, the opening duel numbers that had defined his peak, 39% attempt rate, 53% success rate, the highest attempt rate in the entire tournament by a significant margin, were back. And Furia had seen enough. July 4th, 2025, Furia signed him permanently, and what followed was one of the most remarkable team runs in recent CS history. The headline story of Furia's 2025 was undoubtedly the emergence of Molodoi, but it would be a mistake to understate what Yekindar brought to the team. He was the engine, the space taker, and the player who made everything else possible by being first one in every single time. And on September 21st, 2025, the grand final of Fisher Playground 2, it finally boiled over. This was a tournament where Furia stopped being a promising project and started being a genuine contender. A 5-map grand final against Mongols, and across all 5 maps, the best player in the server was Yekindar, a 1.29 rating that topped the entire server, and he took an astounding 46 opening duels across the series. The oppressive entry fragger that fans had spent years desperately waiting to see again was fully back. Vintage Yekindar was on full display on the final deciding map of Dust 2, where he posted a 1.96 rating, stomping the Mongols out of the server. This win was Furia's first ever trophy in the organization's history. And for Yekindar personally, it was the first significant victory of his career since those VP trophies back in 2021. But winning Fisher Playground was one thing, the true test was coming. Just a few weeks later, on November 9th, 2025, Furia was about to face off against Vitality in the grand finals of IEM Chengdu. In case you somehow don't know, Team Vitality is in the midst of their era. They were dominating everyone, coming off a season where they won 7 consecutive trophies to start 2025, and arguably the greatest team of all time. And for Yekindar specifically, the same organization that had beaten his Liquid side in the gut-wrenching EPO Season 16 final 3 years earlier, when he had given everything and still walked away empty-handed. This time was different. Furia swept Vitality, beating them 3-0, and Yekindar was once again magnificent in the finals. Across the series, he dropped a 1.26 rating, led the entire server in damage, led in assists, led in opening duels. Every category that mattered, he topped it. Against the best team in the world, Yekindar was the best player on the server. For a player who had spent the last few years being a liability, there was something deeply satisfying about the way he was able to find massive impact, helping Furia claim their second trophy in a row. Then, just a week later, on November 16th, 2025, Furia was in Hong Kong, playing in the grand finals of Blast Rivals Season 2, up against the Falcons super team. And after taking a map to warm up and getting blown out on their map pick of Inferno, Furia locked in and reverse swept the Falcons thanks to another Yekindar takeover, a 1.24 rating across the series, once again topping the charts, once again the best player on the server when the trophy was on the line. 3 consecutive trophies, 3 masterful grand finals performances, and 3 EVP awards, and Furia were the only team in 2025 to win multiple tournaments in a row during this dominant Vitality period. In fact, the 3 tournament victories in a row sent shockwaves through the rankings. In November 2025, Furia dethroned Vitality as the #1 team in the world, the first time in the organization's history they had held this ranking. The hype was real, and the results backed it up. Heading into the Star Ladder Budapest Major, Furia were positioned as one of the favorites to win the whole thing, and they cruised through the group stage 3-0, looking every bit the #1 team in the world. But in the quarterfinals against Na'Vi, the team collapsed. The squad that had won 3 trophies in 2 months, that arrived in Budapest as major favorites, went out with a whimper, eliminated 13-3 on the deciding map of Train. Another promising major run ended abruptly. The one trophy that had eluded Yekindar his entire career, the major, remained out of reach. Despite ending the season on a disappointing note, 2025 was a triumphant return to form for Yekindar, as he returned to the HLTV Top 20 player list for the first time since 2022, ranked 15th, the same position he had held when he first joined Liquid 3 years earlier. Same number, completely different story behind it. This time it had come after proving every person who had written him off completely wrong. He had refound the player he had always known he was, the most aggressive entry fragger Counter-Strike has ever seen, finally in an environment built to use him properly. So far in 2026, Yekindar and Furia have struggled badly in the first half of the year. They are a far cry from the form that made them the #1 team in the world. Whether this is a temporary slump or something deeper, nobody knows yet. But one thing I do know is that Yekindar is still chasing that major trophy. Do you think Yekindar will win a major with Furia or even win one in his career? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe. It genuinely helps more than you think.